Alright guys, in this series I do a complete analysis of support units, breaking down their kit and figuring out what they need in order to function at their maximum potential, even if the stuff they need don't even exist in the game yet. These videos are done in this style so that when new items are added to the game, you will know what units want what. As some of you may know, I already have the theorycrafted composition series to analyze this for main DPS and carry units. However, if a unit is capable of multiple roles, then I will do a video for each role. Now, with all that said, let's get into the video. In today's video, we're going to talk about Klee. Yeah, I know Klee is a main DPS carry unit, but I believe that Klee was meant to be a support and a carry unit. You see, Klee's whole kit has great support potential, and I really can't picture a Pyro Burst support surpassing her anytime soon, and that is why she's getting a support build from me. So let's talk about what roles she can fill and what is her niche. Klee's role as a support is going to be to deal quick, massive Pyro Burst damage, and that's about it. She's not exactly the best pyro enabler out there. She's more of a damage boost to your team and perfect for comps that lets you vaporize or melt on her burst skills whenever you bring her out. As for her specialties, Klee's bombs work like actual bombs. What I'm saying is that she does very well against stuff like Geo Shields and anything of the sort. Now, she also has the ability to fund energy particles to her entire team, so she's like a universal battery, and she has access to free, high damage charge attacks, which are valuable for proccing insane reactions such as melt and vaporize. As you can see, she offers some really good support to your team, so let us talk about stats. What stats she's going to need in order to maximize her kit. Now, since she's all about quick damage, we're looking for crit rate, crit damage, and attack percent. Now, I'm assuming you're interested in her C4, Constellation 4 ability, or you're interested in main DPS Klee, so energy recharge would be great here as a fourth stat. However, if you only plan to use Klee as a support and never as a main DPS, then go Elemental Mastery over Energy Recharge in order to increase her damage whenever she procs reactions. She also needs a Pyro damage artifact because her entire kit is Pyro, and Pyro damage is also the stat that she gains during Ascension, so you're going to have a lot of Pyro damage on her. Now, as for talents, her talent 1 is what gives her charged attack so much damage. The talent 2 is how she funds energy into her entire team, and the talent 3 gives you some quality of life while searching for unique items around Mondstadt. Now, as for skills, you will mostly be using her E and Q for pyro application and her charged shots for the quick burst damage. Her Q is mostly going to be neglected though, unless you're willing to play her for the entire duration in order to get the most out of it. Of course, if you have a C4 Klee, her Q becomes way more valuable and works for both pyro application and quick burst damage. I also want to add that it's always best to upgrade all of your other units' important talents to 6, then use whatever extra resources you have to choose who goes beyond that. And most of the time, supports never go beyond talent level 6. But if you ever take support Klee past that for whatever reason, prioritize her normal attacks for more damage on her charged shots. Next, I'd like to talk about her energy particle generation. Now, where energy is concerned, all Klee really needs is for her charged attack to crit, which is going to fund energy for the whole team, and trust me, it gets the job done, so you don't even need her E-skill to do it. Now, as for Constellations, for support Klee, pay attention to all of them. Yes, her insane potential for support is going to be locked behind Constellations, her most important one being the C4. However, C0 Klee works just fine as a Pyro Burst support because all that really matters is her charged attacks. The Constellations are really just the icing on the cake. However, without her C4, you are forced to play with her during the entire duration of her Q, and if you're in a bad spot and you need to switch out of her early, you're gonna lose a lot of potential DPS. And that's why even as a free-to-play player, I intend to one day C4 my Klee, but the chances of me having nothing better to do than that is insanely low, so it'll probably never happen. Now, her C6 support is also ridiculously good, and it makes her an even better battery for the entire team. So if you have that, then energy regen is no problem for you, and it's not necessary. Honestly, guys, it's not necessary because C0 Klee is just fine as a Pyro Burst support. You don't need to go rushing for C4 Constellations or anything like that, but her C4 Constellation is very, very good, and if there's one unit in this game that I would like to have Constellations for, I will not lie, I would like to have a C4 Klee. Let's talk about her weaknesses now. As I've mentioned, her Q is a problem because it requires her to be on the field in order to work. And we all know that she has animation cancels, which even in the support role can be very handy to learn, especially when you're breaking shields with her or you're stuck in her Q. Another problem is that her tossing enemies around with her bombs and charged attacks can be a good thing for some crowd control on smaller enemies, and sometimes the bigger enemies do get launched up in the air, but it can also be a bad thing if you're gonna end up chasing them around the field. Basically, the same problem with overload is that you're gonna have to like waste either dashes or jumps, or you're gonna be running after them, and you're not gonna be doing DPS. Now, even though Klee is really good at moving and doing DPS at the same time, you still don't want to go chasing after enemies, so I would consider this a potential weakness with her. Now, the more and more you play Klee, you will become skilled with positioning in order to launch enemies to where you want them to be. So as you can see, she does have a little bit of a learning curve. She's got the animation cancels, and you gotta like kind of know where you're launching enemies so you don't, you keep them clustered up so you can take advantage of her AoE. The next thing we need to address is weapons. Now, her best in slot weapon is going to be a crit rate weapon that has increased damage on charged shots. Now, I know that right now we already do have a weapon like that, which is the Solar Pearl, a 4-star you get from the Battle Pass. And yeah, when I was analyzing this, that really was the best possible weapon that I think she could have. Something with crit rate or crit damage that has increased damage on the charged shot. Now, the only way that this could get better is if we get a legendary version of the Solar Pearl with an additional effect of something like the Lost Prayer has with the 10% movement speed. So if we do get something like that, that would be better than the Solar Pearl for her. Now, the Solar Pearl is a 4-star, so the chances of us getting a better catalyst for Klee in the future is actually really high. So yeah, I would not be surprised if we do get something with the Solar Pearl effects and a movement speed bonus, because a lot of people like both the Lost Prayer and the Solar Pearl for those exact same reasons. Now, for the best free-to-play weapon for her, the Witsit is going to be best in slot for support Klee, because you tend to swap in and out of her a lot. The Elementary Mastery boost is usually the one that most people don't like, but since most of the time we're going to be swapping into Klee to vaporize and melt stuff, we'll gladly take 240 EM increase. The Witsit is also scaling with crit damage, which is one of her more important stats, so that's also a huge plus. And yeah, all in all, Witsit is really good for support Klee, and if you have it, then use it on her, because overall it is a good weapon and you can transfer it to other weapons whenever you get this Solar Pearl or something better. Now, for artifacts, we're going to run the 4-piece Crimson Witch of the Flames set for increased overall reaction damage. However, we do have some problems with this set that we need to address in the next section, so stick around for that. For the main stats, go HP, attack percent, pyro damage, and crit damage. If you don't have a crit rate weapon or good crit rate on artifacts, then you can settle for crit rate on the 5th artifact until you do. You see, Klee needs to crit on her charged shot as much as possible so she can activate her talent that funds energy particles into her entire team. So in her case, you can forget the 1-to-2 ratio of crit rate to crit damage and run her on crit rate until you can balance it out. And of course, when you are using my method to hit substats, prioritize in this order: crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, and for reasons previously mentioned, elemental mastery, and then energy recharge. Now, I also like to add a quick word here about her animation cancels. You see, I like to look at the way her hand moves back and time it from there. The perfect cancel is somewhere a little after her hand moves back, like a split second. Once you practice it a little bit, you're going to get a hang of it. You could see it on screen, me doing it perfectly on mobile. Now, my favorite cancel is going to be to click, and when you do the cancel for the next attack, you do it by clicking twice, and then you hold the attack button. You see, what happens when you do this is that you throw 2 quick bombs, and then you go into a charged attack. I do this because it's a massive 50% chance to get that free spark, and throwing 2 bombs instead of 1 is going to give me better chances. Of course, you could also do the 1 bomb into charged shot, and this one is much easier and a lot faster. So I like to use this one most of the time because it helps me stay mobile. Now, you just double click and hold on the second click in order to perform it. What's going to happen is that you're going to throw 1 bomb and then you're going to go straight into a charge shot. And of course, you have to cancel the charge attack by jumping away at the end. Now, that is extremely important to remember whenever you're doing charged shots. Always remember to do the cancel charged shot because she does have a very long animation time on the charged shot, and you want quick burst damage. You don't want slow burst damage. So please cancel on the charged shot. It's going to make your life a lot easier and it's going to feel a lot faster to play. Now let's discuss the details of damage in her support combos. Her most common combo is going to be E into a free charged attack and then E into another free charged attack. The reason you're popping the E first is because it has a chance to generate a spark, which is going to give you a free charged attack with a 50% damage increase. And of course, the Crimson Witch of the Flames 4-piece effect is going to kick in, and that's going to give you increased pyro damage. Now, like I said, we have a major problem here with the Witch's set, and it's not really with this combo. You see, this combo works just fine if she's there to deal damage or enable pyro. But if we're dependent on our support Klee to melt or vaporize enemies for big damage, then it's a whole other issue because clearly your E is the one that is being popped first and you do not want that. But if you don't pop the E first, you're not going to get the Crimson Witch of the Flames 4-piece effect. And you also don't want that. So you want to try to maximize damage here. And yeah, that's a problem with this combo. So we're going to have to talk about something else in a minute. Pay close attention if you're interested in those big melt and vaporize numbers. Now, to get the most out of Klee, you need to be accurate and you need to be precise with these rotations. You see, her spark lasts for about 30 seconds, so we have no worries there, okay? That is an insanely a long time for that spark to last on her, so you don't have a problem with charging your charge attack with the spark. But the Crimson Witch effect only lasts for about 10 seconds and you can stack it 3 times. Now with Klee, that's going to be 2 times max because she has 2 charges on her E. Now ideally what we want to do is pop her E twice to gain the 15% damage increase from the Witch's set, and then consume a spark for an extra 50% increase on the charged shot. An extra 7.5 to 15% increase may not sound like much, but you have to remember that we're melting or vaporizing on this charged shot, so it becomes around a 22 to 30% damage increase, which is quite significant. Now, we have a few ways we need to perform this in different situations, but I'm going to talk about the most common one so you guys get an idea of what's going on. What you need to do is you swap to her, you drop her E twice, and then you're going to get the Crimson Witch effect, and then you're going to get the spark on her. So you drop the E twice in order to get those, and then you're going to switch to your enabler to apply whatever element. In this case, we're going to use Hydro with Mona, so we're applying our debuff, and then you have to swap back to Klee and pop a quick charged shot. Now that charged shot is going to have pyro damage bonus from the Witch's set, and it's also going to get the charge effect from the spark charge for the charge attack, which is another 50% bonus, and then you're going to get your vaporize or your melt. In my case, I'm doing vaporize. Of course, as you guys could probably see, the problem here is that your target enemy can step on the remaining mines from your E and trigger the reaction, and that is not ideal. We want the charged shot from Klee to trigger the reaction, whether it's melt or vaporize. So we need another combo in order to avoid this, and there is one. Luckily, it works well in places like the Abyss and anywhere else that has more than one enemy, and we do have an idea as well for single target enemies, but I'll discuss that one after this one. First, let's talk about having multiple enemies on the field. What you do is you swap to Klee, pop her E twice on another target so you'll get her spark and the crimson boost, and then within 6 seconds you have to swap to your enabler, apply the debuff to the target you want to hit, and then swap to Klee for a quick charge shot to deal massive damage. As you can see, what you've done is completely ignore the target you want to hit hard and then circle back to that target for the debuff and then the charged shot. Now, this is the perfect combo to be doing when the bombs are capable of tossing the smaller enemies around. You see, instead of hesitating because you don't want to overkill them, you can just quickly focus on a unit who wasn't caught, on an enemy who wasn't caught in the bombs, and pop a massive charged shot on them. I know this because many times I would toss the bombs out and continue into a charged shot, but if the enemies died to the initial bombs, then I pretty much wasted a charged shot. And there are also many situations where I would miss an enemy or two with my mines, so now you know you can just swap to a cryo or hydro unit to debuff them and swap back to Klee to deal insane damage because the Crimson Witch set bonus is on her and she also has that spark. Now, for single target enemies, what you can do if you have two charges is actually toss one charge at them and then toss the other charge away from them, either at other enemies or in some random direction. But you do need to quickly dash away in order to do this because of the auto aim in the game. You see, the first batch of bombs are going to explode immediately after you toss the second batch out, so it should stagger the larger enemies for a second or two. After that, you apply your debuff with your enabler, and then you swap to Klee, and you deal her charged attack for maximum damage. Of course, like I said, a skilled player will try to position themselves and use the charged attack to launch the enemy into the bombs that they tossed away in order to maximize damage and make sure you're using all of your skills to their full potential. Now, this can also work if you have only one charge. Just toss the E away from the enemy and do the exact same thing. As a matter of fact, it's a lot easier to do with one charge because you don't have to use your enabler to get rid of Klee's pyro debuff, so they can apply their own. From here, it's pretty much rinse and repeat, but what I like to do is pop Klee's Q and then kite enemies towards the bombs that I left lying around because Klee is really good at kiting enemies and dealing damage while she moves. So yeah, there's that. And of course, if you have C4 Klee, you could just swap out of C4 Klee and deal big damage. And you could also keep in mind that when you swap early, your carry can now use the bombs that you left lying around in order to proc pyro-related reactions. So you don't even need to pop RQ. As soon as you finish throwing out the next set of the batch of bombs and you do the charged shot, you swap into your carry and you could use those bombs to proc whatever reactions you want to proc pyro-related. And yeah, as you can see, support Klee is really awesome. Now, with all that said, you don't have to care about any of this in order to get good damage out of support Klee. You could just go brain dead, pop E's, Q's, charge attacks, go wild with her, and she's perfectly fine. She's actually that powerful. Now, you just have to remember that whenever you're using her to trigger reactions, try your best to do it on the charged shot to maximize damage, and that's pretty much it. All of this technical stuff is just in case you want to maximize damage. I'm just showing you how to do it. It doesn't mean that you have to do it. Personally, I like to play Brain Dead, main DPS, and support Klee all the time. I play this game for fun, not to stress myself out, and you guys should remember this as well. Not because we have fun theory crafting and coming up with the best, most efficient combos means that I actually use them all the time. I think a lot of people misunderstand theory crafters and think that we're like efficient junkies who doesn't know how to just have fun, but trust me, we do. The truth is that behind the scenes, we're the type of players who do the stupidest things in the game because by nature, we like to experiment. It just so happens that that leads to these insane combos forming in our heads. Now, that said, when it comes to faster clears and harder content, being aware of these combos can give you the increased damage you may need. So my advice is that while doing random things around the map like artifact farming and daily commissions, you can practice these support combos just for fun. And eventually, they'll come naturally to you in the abyss and whenever you're doing these harder content. So please don't go spending hours on end trying to like perfectly master this mechanic or something, because trust me, you're just gonna forget it later because it all comes down to muscle memory and everything else. So just try to do it casually and not think about it too much, and it will come to you eventually. So yeah, before I start rambling, I think that's everything. So don't forget to check out the tutorials on how to better add and hit the substats you want on your artifacts. If it's not up yet while you're watching this, then please know that I've been really busy getting all of these videos together, and they ended up being a lot more longer than I expected. I did not expect these videos to be this long, and I thought that I could just do all of this analysis in one video, and just put it all together, but that's not the case. There's a lot of things I need to cover with these units, and I can't just dump it all into one video because we're looking at a 6-7 hour long video, and I'm not kidding. So yeah, I need to split this up so we could talk about the Ganyu God comp. I'm pretty sure you guys could tell that this is what all of this is leading up to, and it's why I'm pushing for the support analysis series right now, because I was supposed to start this a lot later, but yeah, here we are. And the artifact videos are on hold, and that is another headache by itself. I really need to focus when I'm doing the artifact tutorials, and they're probably up by now if you're watching this a little bit later down the line. This is just an update for those of you who are here right now. Now there's also the theorycrafted composition videos if you are interested in an analysis like this, but for main DPS or carry units. And I also have a few prediction videos worth your time if you're in for something more relaxing to spark your imagination. Cash in on the fun before the updates drop, and we can't have fun with predictions if the updates drop and just prove everything wrong. So yeah, even though I'm pretty sure some of those predictions are gonna come true, I'm really looking forward to that. Anyways, before I start rambling, as usual, don't forget, learn the game and play the cards you were dealt.